dragons. I don't want to do a spoiler free thing because I feel like we say the same thing every week, which is that it's amazing, right? Everything about it works. All the performances are great. The fucking visual effects are great. Daemon Targaryen running around doing whatever the fuck he's doing is always great. Every time Caraxes is on screen, I just scream because I love that dragon so fucking much. But this is House of the Dragon season 2, episode 5, Regent. We're going straight to spoilers. We're gonna spoil it if you don't want to,
scoot.
Or if you don't care about House of the Dragon, first of all, frankly, fuck you. Like go watch it because it's what
I noticed you're wearing red and black today.
I always wear red and black, and you might notice also that we fly the Targaryen colors in front of my house. So we're gonna go through locations, I think, because it's easier for me to think about.
Starting King's Landing.
So King's Landing. So like Kristen Cole has this brilliant idea, which is like, let's parade the head of a dragon, a creature that everyone thinks are gods.
Godlike,
Yeah. Let's take Melee's. We'll cut her head off. God rest her soul. And we'll cart her around King's Landing, and it will get us so much fucking clout. Everyone will think I am personally amazing. And they do that. And that isn't exactly the reaction they get.
The last thing they should have done.
Because everyone's like, why the fuck did you have to kill a dragon, dude?
Some peasants are talking about it. It's like, I thought a dragon was a god. The other one says it's just meat.
Yeah. That's Hugh Hammer, by the way. That's the guy the
blacksmith guy.
Yeah, he comes back a couple of times in this episode.
But that's a big fucking deal for an aristocracy whose power is in large part built on the fear that a medieval WMD might come swooping out of the air and burn down you and everyone you've ever loved.
Yeah. The other problem is that they know now that their only defense against that can also be killed.
Yeah.
So they're like, get us out of this war. Yeah, this is not good.
Get us out of this highly flammable city.
Yeah. They're all starving to death, by the way, because Rhaenyra's doing a blockade at the Gullet and everything.
What's his name?
Corlys.
Corlys is doing
Corlys and his fucking big navy, right? I love how there's a realization where Kristen Cole is like, why aren't they happy?
We won.
All the ladies should be throwing their handkerchiefs at me. I don't understand what's happening. And they're just like, this is a PR disaster.
Yeah.
What would Otto Hightower say about this? You mentioned Hugh Hammer. This guy's got to be a Targaryen, right?
Maybe
like a Targaryen bastard. Good place to remind everyone. I've not read the books or the book, so I have no idea about Hugh Hammer or anything. But he's got very platinum silver hair. So like,
could just be old and graying. I don't know.
He's not that old. He's like a millennial.
Okay.
He's got the fucking top knot and everything. He's not that old. I think he just has platinum hair.
He's a Westerosian millennial.
Yeah. He's got his wireframe glasses.
Yeah.
Avocado toast. So I also like how they're giving Aegon all the credit for like Aegon single-handedly killed Melee's and with one swipe cut her head off and everything. And like okay, so whenever I think of Aemond, I don't know why, the word on paper looks like almond.
Okay.
And in my mind, Aemond just exists as Prince Almond. So do you think Prince Almond cares that they're running around saying, because he was the one that killed Melee's, right? You like him and Vhagar, obviously. So they're like trying to up the legend of Aegon, which is funny because Aegon isn't doing too well. No, so there's good news.
Barbecued.
Yeah, there's good news and bad news about Aegon. The good news is that he's alive.
Is that the good news?
The bad news is that he's not very alive. Like, he could literally
he's like
die.
Marginally alive.
He could die at any fucking second.
He's a little alive.
So they like sneak him in, right?
They have him in a box
with like rags thrown over it.
They pull into his room, like pull him out. Like it looks like a coffin almost.
It's like when after Trump got COVID. And they're like, we got to show him to the people, but he's really sick. And like, he appeared and he's like barely breathing and shit. It's like, everyone's like, we have to avoid a PR. They cannot see the king melted to his armor. Like, so put him in a box, cover him with rags. We'll deal with this shit later. And Aegon's in the box like, ow, this hurts so much.
Well, he's not, because he's not conscious.
Yeah. He's kind of like in a coma. It doesn't sound like Sunfire's going to make it, by the way. we find this out in a conversation later between Alicent and Kristen, but they pull him into his bedroom, and the Maester dude
start ripping the melted armor off him.
The behind the scenes thing, the way they did this was so his armor is made of Valyrian steel, which is impervious to flame.
Yeah.
Which is why it's darkened and blackened, but it's not damaged, right? So what happened was he cooked inside of his armor, and his body stuck to the metal, which is like, oh God, that's so fucking horrifying. And they have some good prosthetics work with this, where they have they're pulling off pieces of the armor and it's like bringing flesh with it and stuff. Alicent is standing there like, if I loved my son, maybe I'd be upset about this, but I really don't.
I made the mistake of watching this scene while eating lunch.
Yeah, don't do that. So I always eat popcorn when I watch House of the Dragon. That's one of those moments where I'm like, I'm gonna put that back. I'm gonna wait a few minutes.
So I actually interpreted Alicent's character a little bit differently. I think she
wasn't that cold. She wasn't as cold as I
think she feels guilty that she doesn't love Aegon more.
Yeah, she's like, why don't I like you?
And she feels guilty that the last conversation she had with Aegon before he went and got barbecued was,
you're a fucking idiot.
Just do literally nothing. You're a dumbass. Yeah. We put you on the throne. Now just look pretty.
Yeah. Almond is hanging out, and he's got the cat's paw dagger. Mm-hmm. And Alicent's sitting there looking at Aegon, and she's like, what?
Excuse
the
me?
Fuck? And the thing that's actually really profound to me about this is the entire last episode, Alicent is rifling through books trying to find what the fuck Viserys meant by the Song of Ice and Fire. Mm-hmm. The answer is so close to her, and she has Almond doesn't know either. Neither of them know. Mm-hmm. And it's just I'm really hoping that he drops it in a fire or something and realizes what it is, because I think it would be an interesting dynamic to see them to see both sides be aware of the prophecy and what their reactions to it are. Because I imagine that the Greens would be like, it's fake news. Who the fuck cares about that bullshit? So Alicent and Kristen Cole have a little talk while Kristen's polishing his sword. Literally,
giggity.
Not figuratively. Yeah. I don't think they're going to be polishing swords anymore between the two of them after this episode, by the way.
Things are a little strange.
Yeah. Alicent's like, what the fuck happened? And he's like,
I still have a concussion. I have no idea.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if I know what happened.
There was fire. I fell off my horse.
I touched a dude and he just reduced into ashes. Can you get away from my room right now? I need to not think about this.
I need therapy, except I'm a man, so I won't ever admit to it.
Yes, I'll just bottle it up. Yeah. So there's a small council meeting where Alicent is pretty much like, look, the king is probably going to die. Someone needs to rule. I've done this job before, and everyone else is like, stop being a hysterical woman and sit down. We're going to pick Almond. And at first, she thinks, she's like, oh, Foot guy is in my corner.
Yes. So the three, the Lannister guy, the Maester, and I think the Coins guy are all like,
the Laws guy.
Yeah. They're all like, we should do Aemond. And she's like, well, what do you think, Sir Larys? And Larys is
she's like pulling her shoe down a little bit. She's like, do you see my foot? And he's like,
Larys
no, Almond.
It should be Aemond.
Yeah.
She's like, well, what do you think, Sir Kristen Cole?
What about my side piece? What about you? And
he's still concussed, but he's like, Aemond.
Yeah, he's having his own existential crisis where he's like, I saw a man melt to death.
Yeah. I saw many men melt to death.
I would like to retire now. But there's this great shot of she asks Crispy about it, and she leans forward, and Larys is staring at him like you've seen more than her feet, I bet. And he is the one that puts it in his court. You might have noticed, because she asks Larys, and he's like, I don't know, but Aemond is, or Almond, or whoever the fuck is girls, and I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't matter what I think though. What about Kristen Cole? Because he knows that he's gonna support Aemond.
Yeah.
and knows that he can put a wedge in a little bit between them, and he like kind of like leans back and watches it happen. He's like, yeah, look at this fucking drama I just caused. Because Crispy's like, yeah, Aemond, my vote's for Aemond. And fucking Alicent's like,
excuse me?
Well, no more pussy for you, my friend. And she sits down.
Aemon's like, hey, guess I'm the regent.
And he's just waiting for it, right? Because he knows it's going to happen. He stands up. He grabs
the big marble.
Yep. Pops it in. There is this great fucking reaction when they start talking. Everything just starts and they start talking about the war and shit.
Everything just kind of gets muted.
Like Alicent kind of dissociates a little bit. Yeah. And she does this thing where she's like, oh my God, what have I done? I am responsible for all of this.
Yeah.
What is happening? And the
one of her children who really should never have been in a position of power is now in a position of power.
She's like, why couldn't have Helena been the queen? God damn it.
Why couldn't Helena be the regent? She'd be great. She'd just be talking to bugs all day.
You're right. She'd have a master, she'd have like a master of bugs on the council. They'd be like, the bugs are doing great today, Your Grace.
Splendid.
Yeah, great. I'm going to my room now.
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah. But where are the beasts beneath the boards? So they start talking shop, and Aemond immediately starts making decisions because they're like, everyone's going hungry. That's a problem. And he's like, just shut the door so they can't leave. And they're like, how does that solve that problem? He's like, it doesn't. Do what I said. Oh, and by the way, cut the fucking rat catchers down because it's gross that they're even still up there.
Yeah.
Those are like his first two official orders, right? Close the doors, trap everyone. I think his reasoning here is if we're cushioned by civilians, Rhaenyra won't storm King's Landing with her dragons.
Yeah.
Because even losing melees, she still has more dragons. And I'm pretty sure that Caraxes can take Vhagar in a 1v1 anyway.
Maybe.
I like how Rhaenyra thinks that Syrax can. She's like, oh, she's quick as fuck though.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be true, but I'm pretty sure, I have not read the book, I'm pretty sure Caraxes could take Vhagar in a 1v1.
Maybe. Vhagar is really fucking big.
I know, but Caraxes is fucking insane. And that dragon loves to kill things. So my money would be on him. And that neck, like, I don't even know what the combative application of that long fucking neck is, but I could just see him wrapping it around Vhagar and just strangling her, right? So the moral here is that Alicent is having to lay in the bed that she made. Mm-hmm. And she's starting to realize that it's a messy fucking bed. And she's starting to have a little bit of a panic, right? So she also has a follow-up conversation with Crispy outside where she says to him what she meant, where it was like, so you're only into me when you're fucking me, right? And he's like,
are we doing this in public now?
Yeah. First of all, I like it. So he's hand of the king, so he's got his little book. He's like carrying around and like writing in because now he's an academic or whatever. Mm-hmm. they're dropping the fucking rat catchers while they're having this conversation, and that poor little fucking dog.
Oh, that poor dog.
He'll be all right. They adapt.
Not if there's no fucking food in the city.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Someone like the me of this universe would just feed the dog. Yeah. So like I'm not that. There are a lot of dog people in the world. So she's like, just by the way, if it wasn't clear before, we're done fucking. Like that's no longer a thing, because he like gets bold as fuck and like calls her Alicent. And she's like, oh,
keep my name out of your mouth.
We're not there anymore. So Helena kind of so Aemon's just hanging out with Aegon, by the way. Mm-hmm. And Helena shows up and just point blank is like, so was it worth the price he paid? And then like scurries off. And it's like, God, that girl's so fucking weird.
Like she knows.
Yeah. I'm sure she does. Like she probably saw it in a vision somewhere. Mm. In fact, I bet if we were to go back in season 1, there's probably a thing about don't get melted in your armor or some shit. So meanwhile, Daemon is still tripping balls at Harrenhal and he fucks his mother.
Yeah.
Because
like that's how the episode opens.
Why the fuck not? Yeah.
He's having a very passionate sex scene with his mother.
And it isn't conflicted.
No.
It's not like, oh my God, I'm fucking my mom.
He's totally into it.
He's like going down on her and shit.
Balls deep.
Yeah. And I'm like, He's a Targaryen. I think this is
Targaryen. This is just what they do.
I think this is normal. I think this is just what they are.
I mean, Sigmund Freud would have a field day with this guy, but
well, they burn him alive like witch. So, he hosts an episode of Fixer Upper for HGTV, where he's like, guys,
this place is a piece of shit. We're gonna fix it.
We're turning it around. He also has a conversation with Alice Rivers about how he's like, I'm gonna be king. And Rhaenyra will rule by my side. And Alice is like, is she okay with that? Because I have a feeling she's probably not okay with that. And he's like, I couldn't fucking care less. So this is where we are. Why is this place so fucking weird? By the way, there is a shot. There's this brilliant shot where they're talking. And then Simon, who I think is just so happy to have people over to his house.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like he's like, there are people here. And I get to cook. Like we get to have dinner every night. And
this big castle gets so lonely sometimes. But now there's everyone here.
Like I think so there is the one part where like Daemon keeps moving the goalposts with what he wants to be called. Where he's like, just call me the fucking king. And Simon's like, but you're not the king.
Aren't you the prince?
Yeah, and he's like, well,
consort?
I'm married to the queen.
So what would you call that person?
And he's like, you'd call that the king. And then Simon's like, consort. And he's like, just call me fucking. He's like, you know what? I'm just happy people are here. It's fine. But there is this great shot where he and Alice are talking, and Simon walks up, and she walks away, and she passes over his one shoulder. Mm-hmm. But then when he moved, like there's just nothing there anymore. And so now it's like, is he entirely hallucinating Alice? Because have you seen anyone talk to her other than Daemon?
I have not.
So what the fuck? That whole thing now, because no one ever reacts to her.
That's true.
So now I'm like, who is gaslighting me into thinking Alice Rivers is real? So Daemon tries to win over the Brackens, right? So
he shows up with his dragon.
He shows up at their house, and he's like, this is the deal. Pledge to my house, or I'll burn you all fucking alive. And they're like, let me tell you how much I hate the fucking Blackwoods. I hate them enough. Burn me alive, motherfucker. And he turns around on his horse. Like, and this guy's like, oh, this is gonna fucking hurt.
And Caraxes wants to do it.
His head fucking the concept art in the behind the scenes of this it's just like how they shot it, where like the guy's riding away on his horse and you see Caraxes come down into frame and you're like, oh, here it comes. And then it cuts away to him and the Blackwood guy just hanging out on the side of the hill. And he's like, why didn't you kill them? And he's like,
David's like, look, these guys would rather.
Well, hold on. So like the Blackwood guys, like Brackens are so fucking, like they're so stubborn. And Damon's like, I know, I kind of love them for it.
Like they were willing to burn alive rather than bend the knee. Like, I could use that
I'm into that. I think
I could use that
sort of
determination
my mom
in my army.
Yeah, right. And so he's like, you know what we should do? And he's like, what? He's like, let's commit some war crimes.
Just go steal all their shit.
Yeah, go steal all the kids.
Kidnap their daughters.
Yeah, and
do unspeakable things.
Yeah. By the way, this isn't kingly behavior.
This isn't me saying to do this.
Yeah, this is like a.
But you should go do it.
It's like a CIA Black Ops thing. Yeah, like this. Like if you get caught, I don't know.
Like you didn't hear this from me, but
and the Blackwood's like, oh, we've been waiting to do this shit to the Brackens forever. Yeah. So let's fucking go. So as a result, the River Lords show up in the middle of the fucking night.
Yeah, like it's 2 a.m.
Yeah, they're like pounding on the door and shit. And like, so like Daemon like gets dressed and he shows up and he's like,
what the fuck do you want?
What is this place? I don't understand. I don't understand how this place works.
Is this a hallucination?
Yeah, are you real? Are you actually here? Did you guys see the owl lady? Like she says she's a barn owl. I don't know. Like I need to leave. They're like, so the Blackwoods, the Blackwoods took all of our women and our children and they ate all of our apples and like now what the fuck?
They pissed on our lawns.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, we think you do. Basically because we know that you had Jaehaerys killed. Mm-hmm. You had that poor sweet baby go to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Yeah.
So let's get something straight. We don't do the tyrant thing here, so fuck the fuck off. And then they leave, and he's like,
I couldn't have waited till the morning.
You're still going to send your armies, though, right?
Yeah.
Because if you are, I don't care about this conversation even a little bit. So we get to see something we've not seen since like the 4th season of Game of Thrones.
What's that?
The Eyrie, which is the family seat of
the place with the bottomless pit.
Yes, the Moon Door.
Yeah.
The family seat of the Arryn family. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, the entire Game of Thrones story starts off with the Hand of the King, Jon Arryn, being assassinated. That's what starts the whole thing, right? And it turns out that her husband his wife was involved. But yeah, they got the Moon Door.
Yeah.
And there's this really great line in the 1st season of Game of Thrones where when they see the Eyrie, Tyrion Lannister tells his buddy Bronn, he was like, it said it's impregnable. And Bronn's like, get me like 5 good men and some fucking climbing spikes and I'll impregnate the bitch tonight. But they do a callback to this where Jane Arryn, it was like, so here's the deal. We've got the Bloody Gate. Mm-hmm. And that funnels everything into one spot that we can just bombard with arrows. Yes. And so many armies have crashed against the Bloody Gate. None of them have ever broken
Nobody's getting in this place by land.
So we're not worried about that. Let me tell you what we are very worried about, and it's flying nuclear bombs. Yeah, because we don't have the Bloody Gate in the sky. Like, we are entirely vulnerable to dragons, and this is why I wanted my own dragons.
Baela's like, well, I got good news for you.
It's Rhaena.
I'm sorry. Rhaena's like, she's great news.
Dragons. And she's like, those aren't dragons. Those are fucking lizards right now.
Those are baby dragons. Yeah, I needed a big dragon.
Yeah, I wanted one, like, I don't know. You can send me like one of the teenager ones or something at least. And
it's one that's at least the size of a cottage.
Yeah. And Rhaena's like,
they grow?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what's happening right now with this. Honestly, I think I'm going to Pentos at some point with some of the, I don't know. Yeah. When are we having dinner? And she's like, oh, okay, we'll have dinner soon. Also, Rhaena's, I think, a little pissy that she doesn't have her own dragon. Yeah. Because she never claimed one. I'm pretty sure that maybe...
Oh, she's getting one.
Yeah, I think probably. I think that either Baela or Rhaena were supposed to have Vhagar, but because Vhagar was in mourning when Laena died, that's how Aemon was able to get it. Yeah.
I think Rhaena might end up with Sea Smoke.
I think one of the Hall guys is going to end up with Sea Smoke.
Maybe.
Valerian blood, baby, which we're going to find out is important.
We're going to get there.
So Jace is like...
He's off playing Kingmaker.
Yeah, and he wants to do something because right now he's just like standing around serving beautiful face, which he does very well. Yeah. But he's like, I also got this fucking sword and I got a dragon, and I feel like that's probably like better for the war effort. So he goes on his own sanctioned mission where he's like, I'm gonna go on a mission. Yes. And his betrothed Baela is like, who gave you permission? He's like, motherfucker, I gave me permission. And so at first he's gonna go and try to talk sense into Daemon. Mm-hmm. And Baela's like, that's fucking stupid.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, there is no universe where Daemon listens to you.
Yeah. You're better off like fucking around with a phrase or something. Is like, wait,
a phrase?
That's not a terrible idea. So he takes Vermax down to the Twins. And if you're not a Game of Thrones fan, the Twins is a bridge that connects the northern part of the continent to the Riverlands. They need the Stark army to come down. The Stark army of like old guys.
Yeah.
But without the phrase permission, that never happens. And this is a linchpin in like the first third of Game of Thrones, right? Robb Stark needs to get down to the Riverlands. And so he like shows up to the Twins and they meet. It's like a prisoner exchange, right? In like the DMZ between like North and South Korea.
In the middle of the bridge, like their table is like this door.
That they put it up on bricks. Yeah. Like, you like our table? And they're eating some bread and shit.
Yeah, a phrase are drinking wine, having a good old time.
Yeah. And Jace is like, okay, I need your bridge. I have a dragon.
Yes. How are we going to do this?
Yeah. And they're like, you know what? Give us Harrenhal. You can have whatever the fuck you want. And he's like, it's not mine, but yeah, you can have it.
Harrenhal's kind of big though.
Yeah.
You're going to also need to bend the knee.
Oh yeah. That's his other thing. He's like, that's a pretty big ask. So you're going to bend the knee to my mom. And they're like, Sold.
Okay. Yeah.
Pleasure doing business with you. Here's our bridge. And he's like, well, that was way easier than I thought it would be.
Jace does all this, like, knowing that he doesn't control Harrenhal, that he can't speak for Harrenhal, that he has no clue what Daemon is even doing there.
He's like, you can have it.
Harrenhal, absolutely. Sold.
You can have it. And when you go down there, tell Daemon to come home because we haven't seen him in a year. We don't know where the fuck he is. So I think this episode opens with Corlys.
Yes. And he is not taking, he's not doing well.
Yeah. I mean, understandably. I think there's an interesting detail about Corlys. When he was younger, his hall on Driftmark was full of these treasures and wealth that he won as a young sailor. He made his own thing, right? Yeah. I mean, he had a good family name, but that family is insanely wealthy because of his exploits at sea. And you find out that he won those exploits for Rhaenys. And now that she's dead, who is it all for? Because that's the only thing that mattered to Corlys. He's like, I got all this pretty shit, but who do you think it was for? It wasn't for me. It was for fucking Rhaenys. And so he's trying to grieve the death of his wife. And probably the most powerful performance of the episode is him sitting on the salt throne, fucking one tear out of his eye, trying to grapple with what just happened. Add to that the fact that Corlys is a very proud man. Most of that was directed in defense of Rhaenys, the queen that never was. His whole thing the whole time was, you should have been queen. Never once did he say, I should have been the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. It was always, my fucking wife Rhaenys should have been queen of the Seven Kingdoms. And he has this obsession with legacy. And now he doesn't have one. No. He's got Baela and Rhaena.
His heir is gone. His wife is gone. Like,
yeah.
What has his entire life been for?
Yeah. And so like now he's got nothing. And like he doesn't really know what to do. And you have expect him just to fucking walk out to sea and just fucking drown himself or something.
Well, one night he's just standing there drinking, looking out at the ocean, and Baela shows up. She's like, hey.
Well, before this, Baela and Rhaenyra have a conversation. And Rhaenyra is like, okay, so I need you to go talk sense into your grandfather, and I need him as hand of the king or queen. Yeah. And Baela's like, okay, well,
I mean, I can give him the message, but like,
have you met Corlys? Like, I don't know.
He's kind of stubborn.
Yeah. So she shows up to propose him being the hand of the queen, and he barely even registers it. It's just like is she doing this because she thinks I'd be good at it, or is she doing this as a consolation for me losing literally the most important thing in my life? Either one of them, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, none of it matters now anyway. And Baela talks some sense into him, and she's like, I loved my grandmother too, but like, if you think about it, Rhaenys died exactly the way she wanted. She died a Targaryen princess on the back of a badass dragon, setting everything on fire. Like, that's exactly how she would have wanted to die.
There are worse ways to go.
Just like my mother. Like, Targaryens die in dragon fire. That's what they do. And Corlys is like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. Right. I'll tell you what. I'll do the hand of the queen thing if you become my heir to Driftmark. And she's like, won't do it. I'm fire and blood. I'm a Targaryen. What you need are those two bastards you have that are salt and sea. They're your heirs. Yeah. So fucking fix this. And she hands him the pin, and like, you're like,
and walks away.
Maybe Corlys has some, like, he's found something that he can kind of like figure out how to like keep going. On Dragonstone. One of the things I love about Rhaenyra is that she's constantly thinking about her weaknesses as a leader. Something no one else ever does, right? And so the thing that she's on this week is that she's not literally a skilled fighter like all the men are, because boys are given to play swords and shit.
Play with swords and learn how to fight and all that. And
she's like, I'm starting to wish that had happened to me because I could really use some ass whooping abilities at this point. And also her small council, she should probably kill most of those guys, I think, because like the one guy says something about the gentler sex. He's like, the gentler sex doesn't know how to do a war. And she's like, bitch, we've been, because of my father, by the way, we've been like 40 years of peace. You don't know anything about war either.
You have seen exactly as many wars as I have.
Yeah, you are the same kind of sweet summer child that I am. So let's shut the fuck up. Neither of us know what the fuck a war is. So stop being such a douchebag. I mean, he's the guy that she sent. So she and Massaria have a conversation about Damon. Right?
I think so. And she's like, I don't want to send a message to Damon on a raven that he can ignore. I'm going to send a human being who can talk to him and bring a message back.
So she sends the guy because he's like, are you sending me away as punishment? She's like,
kind of yes, but also.
Yeah, I can see why you would think that's true. And maybe it is a little true, but it is actually because of this reason. Because like I need someone to reason with Damon, and he's like, what?
Oh, ain't nobody in the world gonna be able to do that, honey.
And she makes a comment about how like I don't know, maybe he's making his own fucking play to the Iron Throne, and he's like, he wouldn't dare. And she's like,
have you met Damon?
He would dare a lot. That's all that man does is fucking push everyone's buttons and dare, right? So during this talk with Massaria tells her, she's like, listen, rumors and information are just as destructive as armies. And I don't think the other side is smart enough to figure that out. They've got Laris, but I don't think Laris is trying to win the war for anyone. I think he's trying to figure out a way to get himself as high as possible, right? So they come up with a little plan, and they send Rhaenyra's handmaiden Alinda to King's Landing to be a spy. So she shows up on Helena's former handmaiden store, the one that Aegon assaults in the first season, that has to drink the moon tea. And she opens the door. She's like, oh my God, Alinda. And she's like, hey, I'm going to be a spy now. Can I crash at your place? And she's like, fuck yeah.
Sure, yeah.
We're all starving to death. I don't know why you're fucking here, but because she had to like get in too,
like,
right?
Well, sort of just like most people are trying to get
it's like
out.
Everyone's trying to get out. What the fuck are you doing
sure
here?
You want to go in?
There's a scene, by the way, Hugh Hammer and his wife and their like real sick kid. He tries to like get him out.
Try to get out, but they get there as the soldiers are closing the doors.
So Rhaenyra sends Alfred Broom to Harrenhal to try to get Daemon to do like something other than fucking his mom the whole time. Jace comes back from his unsanctioned mission, and Rhaenyra wants to be mad at him so bad, but after he tells her what he did, she's like, no, that's pretty bad. Okay. That's really good.
This one's you did good.
Yeah, this was...
But don't ever do that again.
This actually was insanely helpful. Thank you so much, but you're grounded. They discuss their assets a little bit.
Like, we have like 2 guys. The Starks are bringing like 5 more.
We do have a shit ton of dragons.
Yes.
But
we have more dragons than we have riders, which is kind of awkward.
Yeah. Now, they've got Vhagar. And let me tell you, Cyrax is really fast. I'm thinking about just riding over there and trying to kill Vhagar anyway.
Jace is like, you idiot.
Yeah.
Meleys was really fast too, and you saw how that worked out.
So maybe that's not such a great idea. And so she's like, well, we have Vermithor and Silverwing, but we don't have riders for them. And so like what the fuck do we even do with that? Like the dragons need Targaryen blood as in their riders.
The history book says the dragon only bows its head to a dragon lord, and he's like, the books that were written specifically to deify us, like the books that were written so that the common plebs would bend the knee and bow down to us,
and participate in the workforce, pretty much. So like Jace is like, well, hold on a second. Like, they don't have to be Targaryens. They just have to have
Targaryens.
They have to have Targaryen blood. And he's like, here's an idea. Let's throw a bunch of people with Targaryen blood that married out of the family at dragons and see which ones the dragons don't kill immediately. Yeah. And those are the ones that can ride them. And like,
she's like, this is the craziest fucking idea I've ever heard. Yeah. But
I like it. And she's like, you are full of fucking good ideas today, kid. That's fucking
2 for 2.
Like, get the genealogy tree out.
Yep.
Just figure out who it is.
Go digging through the family tree, find all these Targaryen bastards, and throw them on dragons.
And that's where we land on the end of the episode. Like they're just gonna throw. Like they're like your great uncle twice removed was married to a Targaryen or
was a Targaryen. So
here's Vermithor, and like Vermithor just burns him alive. And he's like, well, I guess he wasn't worthy.
Okay, next.
Yeah.
And all of them were like, I'm not going in there. Come on, just think about it. Like, if it works out, you get to ride this really fucking cool dragon.
Yeah. Also,
don't you want to fly?
If it doesn't work out, you'll be dead before you realize what happened. If they burn you alive, they might eat you.
Yeah.
Okay, this actually could go very badly for you, but
but regardless, if it works out.
Yeah. So they also have like 3 feral dragons, which have never had riders.
Oh, that's gonna be extra fun.
So they have the cannibal, who is almost as big as Vhagar.
Okay, it's a big dragon.
Practically as big as Vhagar, and obviously, as you can surmise from the name, has experience with
eating dragons,
with dragon on dragon like combat.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is doesn't listen to anybody, does its own fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
They have Sheep Stealer,
okay,
who only eats sheep. Is very extra.
Yeah,
it's like that's my entire diet.
Yep.
And then they have Grey Ghost.
Okay.
Who I don't think anyone's actually ever seen. Grey Ghost might just not exist. Yeah. And then they've got Vermithor, who is King Jaehaerys's dragon, the guy at the beginning that starts the whole thing, right? The old guy, I guess.
The oldest guy.
Yeah, Viserys' grandfather.
Whatever.
Yeah. And they have Silverwing, and so they have like right there they have five dragons and Sea Smoke.
Sea Smoke is lurking around.
Who is pretty big too, right? All of which are riderless. That like if all of them went to King's Landing, Vhagar would be like, surrender. I surrender.
Like, okay, yeah. I guess you got it, me.
Yeah.